Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Who will break out for this Michigan program going into 2025? To me, as a Michigan fan, these are some of the more exciting offseason conversations that you can have where you look at this Michigan roster and say, all right, who are the guys that maybe flashed a little bit in 2024 that could be legitimate difference makers for this Michigan team in 2025? Now, I'm going to get this one out of the right way real quick. Did not include any true freshmen. You talk about guys like Bryce Underwood, guys like Shamari Rose. I think there are a couple of freshmen that will play a big role for Michigan in the 2025 year. We're just going to do a separate episode talking about the true freshmen. I'm going to focus on guys that were on this team in 2024 that we think can kind of reach another level going into 2025. Now, before we get into it, as always, the best part about doing this is hearing from the Michigan fans in the comment section. There's probably 10 to 15 names that you could include in this conversation. It feels like this Michigan roster is kind of full of guys that you feel really good about, kind of taking that step in 2025. If you're a Michigan fan that's listening to a Michigan episode in the middle of February, 8 months until football starts, chances are y'all got a few names that you like as well. Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into a player that I think really is flying under the radar, who I love going into 2025. That's running back Jordan Marshall. And why is he flying under the radar? Because Michigan goes out and lands the number one running back in the transfer portal in Justice Haynes. Love Justice Haynes. I think he got one of the better running back duos that you see in the country going into 2025. And the way I look at it is it's not going to be a running back one, running back two situation. I think it's going to be a running back 1A and running back 1B. And what I appreciate the most about both Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes is that they're more complete running backs than what Michigan had in 2024. Where you look at Donovan Edwards, you look at Khalil Mullings, they both had traits that you like. Obviously, Khalil Mullings, the physicality of what she ran with. Donovan Edwards, the burst that he had at the second level, but they didn't check all the boxes. And you look at Khalil Mullings, as physical as he ran, the second level juice wasn't always there. And then you look at Donovan Edwards, he had that second level juice, didn't run behind his pads the way I think a lot of Michigan fans wanted. Both Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, they wrap all those traits into one running back. Jordan Marshall, we saw against Alabama, that dude can run behind his pads as a true freshman. There's also that extra burst that he certainly has when he gets to the second level. You could say the same thing for Justice Haynes. I look at Jordan Marshall, what he did against Alabama, 24 rushes against Alabama, 12 missed tackles forced in one football game against Alabama in that bowl game. Donovan Edwards only had 17 missed tackles forced all year. And so that kind of tells you what Jordan Marshall brings to the table in terms of contact balance, physicality of which he runs with, while also having that second level burst. Hey, I can go make a 10-yard run, turn that into a 30-yard chunk play real quick. That's what Michigan's looking for. We're looking for more explosive plays, not only throwing the football, but also running the ball as well. And we all expect this offensive line to be better than it was in 2024. A lot of the conversation goes to, do we have good enough pass catches around Bryce, which I think is probably the biggest question mark that we have heading into 2025. One of the best things you can do for a freshman quarterback is give him a good run game. And I think Michigan is going to have that with the offensive line and Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes. Number 2 on the list, Samaj Morgan. And I thought, I'm looking at the wide receiver and say, all right, I want to choose a wide receiver that I think can break out. Who's it going to be? You could argue Freddie Moore. I know a lot of y'all like Kendrick Bell too. I wouldn't push back against those arguments at all. I look at Samaj Morgan. Why did I settle on Samaj Morgan to be my breakout wide receiver? Number one, it's very clear that Sherrone Moore, this Michigan staff, they like Samaj Morgan. And they tried to get him the football in a lot of different ways throughout the 2024 year. Why does he break out in the 2025 year? One, because they like him. We think he's a good football player. Number two, you're probably going to see a lot more 11 personnel and a little bit less 12 personnel with this Chip Lindsey offense, which means Samaj Morgan's going to be on the field a little bit more. When we went to 12 personnel, Samaj Morgan was normally the wide receiver that would be off the football field. And I think finally, you look at Samaj Morgan and you look at the damage he can do, it's with space underneath, right? He's not a guy that's going to stretch the field vertically. He's going to be that electric playmaker that, with the football in his hands, can do some really good things. The problem with Samaj Morgan in 2024 wasn't necessarily him. It was the offense just not creating any space. I mean, Michigan had zero vertical passing game. And when you don't have a vertical passing game, you can't manufacture space underneath for a guy like Samaj Morgan. We project with Chip Lindsey and Bryce Underwood coming in that there's going to be a little bit more of a presence down the field with this passing attack, which is only going to help Samaj Morgan get a little bit more space to operate in those underneath situations. You give Samaj Morgan space, we know what he can do with the football. I Because of that, I'm going with Samaj Morgan. Again, there's a lot of wide receivers you could go with. There's no doubt about it. But I look at Samaj Morgan and say that to me makes a lot of sense for him taking that step going into the 2025 year. Next one on the list, Andrew Sprague. Probably going to start at right tackle, at least would be my projection. And I quite frankly think he can battle Evan Link for the left tackle spot. Andrew Sprague and Evan Link are probably going to be your starting tackles in 2025. What fires me up the most about Andrew Sprague, and he kind of gets left out of the conversation because we're so excited about Andrew Babaloa and Ty Haywood coming in. Andrew Sprague was that guy in the 2024 class, played and started that last game against Alabama as a true freshman at right tackle, was quite impressive. Here's the kicker with Andrew Sprague. He's a guy that wasn't even with Michigan for that winter conditioning and spring practice window last year. He was a summer enrollee. And so he pretty much got right on campus, worked his way into the two deep, and started at the end of the year. We knew Andrew Sprague was a guy that probably needed a year of putting on a little bit more weight. He came to Michigan 6'8", 285 pounds. But we knew he had to go through a little bit of physical development before he was really going to reach his potential. He's going to get that this year. This is his first year with Michigan in that winter conditioning strength training block. What does he look like going into year two? And this kid is traits for days. 6'8", 300 plus pounds now. A really functional athlete for that size and for that length. Getting him a full spring practice, a full winter conditioning block, put a little bit more good weight on his frame. You could be talking about Andrew. I don't think it's crazy to talk about Andrew Sprague being an all-conference player for Michigan in the 2025 year. And again, that's not me sleeping on Andrew Bablow or Ty Haywood and seeing what they can do as true freshmen. Andrew Sprague was just as talented as those guys in the 2024 class. Didn't get as much buzz because he didn't enroll early. I think Andrew Sprague could take a massive step in the 2025 year for Michigan up front. Number 4, and I'll just be frank. I know I'm kind of stretching it here with the breakouts, but Jayshon Barham. The reason I'm choosing Jayshon Barham to talk about a quote-unquote breakout play, look, he was all conference last year. He was a very, very good off-ball linebacker. 21 run stops, was third on the team. 17 quarterback hurries, only missed 6% of his tackles. Was very, very good. Why is he coming back for one more year when he very easily could have gone to the NFL draft? There's, to me, that next level for him to reach. And I'm not saying he's going to be Abdul Carter, but I see a little bit of the Abdul Carter traits, if you will. There's a lot of smoke around him moving to the edge a little bit and coming off the edge. There's 2 reasons why I'm taking Jayshon Barham to take that step. Number 1, it's year 2 for him and the Wink Martindale defense. He's going to be more comfortable. He's going to be playing a little bit more fast. I think just as importantly, it's year 2 for Wink Martindale to better utilize a guy like Jayshon Barham, where Jayshon Barhams don't grow on trees. I mean, he's one of the more physically gifted players in all of college football. Can Wink Martindale, with another year under his belt running this Michigan defense, find more creative ways for Jayshon Barham to impact the football game, very similarly to how Penn State used Abdul Carter in 2024. I mean, Abdul Carter was a really good off-ball linebacker for his first 2 years and then kind of was used as an edge rusher, just this defensive chess piece, if you will. And you saw, I don't think there was a player in the country that had a bigger impact on the defensive side of the football than Abdul Carter for Penn State last year? Can Jay Barham be Michigan's Abdul Carter in 2025? I think there's a chance that he can kind of get close to that. And if he does, he's going to go from being, hey, a really, really solid Big Ten linebacker to one of the most impactful defenders that you see in the country. I think Jay Barham can be that guy. That's why I'm taking him as that quote unquote breakout player, because I think there's that another level that he can reach going into 2025. Last one on the list, Josiah Edmond. All the traits that you want and a really good boundary cornerback. And why I think Josiah Edmond is so important to this Michigan defense is, one, Michigan is pretty dang thin in the boundary cornerback spot right now. Number two, if you can have Josiah Edmond emerge as a cornerback we really like out there on the boundary and have him and Jair Hill starting on the boundary and allow you to move Zeke Berry back into nickel, to me, that's the best version of this Michigan defense in 2025. That nickel position is becoming one of the most important positions in all of college football on the defensive side of the football. You have so many different responsibilities. You have to be able to operate man coverage. You have to be able to support the run. Look at the impact that Mike Sandstrill had for Michigan in 2023. I'm not saying Zeke Berry is going to be Mikey Sandstrill, but I think he can be really, really close. And Josiah Edmond emerging as a boundary cornerback that Michigan really likes, allowing Zeke Berry to move back to the position that we all think he can dominate, and that's that nickel corner spot. That's the best version for Michigan. Love Josiah Edmond. Think he certainly can break out. And if he does, it not only makes you feel really good about the boundary cornerback position, makes you feel really good about what we're going to be doing at nickel too with Zeke Berry. A lot of names that you could go to. Couple honorable mentions: Hogan Hansen at tight end. I pretty much went with Samaj Morgan over Hogan Hansen because I think we're going to be running a lot more 3 wide receiver sets, which is going to give Samaj Morgan a little bit more opportunity. Jimmy Rolder is another guy, especially if we get creative with Jay Barham and we need another kind of traditional off-ball linebacker. Could be Cole Sullivan, could be Jimmy Rolder. Jimmy Rolder can play. And again, didn't get as much playing time as I think a lot of Michigan fans may have wanted because Ernest Hausman and Jay Barham are so solid. He's another guy that I especially if Jay Barham gets used in more creative ways, could certainly break out. Etta going into year 3, Trey Pierce going into year 3. A lot of names that were solid for Michigan in 2024 that could be dang good football players for Michigan in 2025. Let it fly in the comment section. I know there are a lot of Kenny Bell fans out there, so I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.